It's like going to a trial. A lawyer asks you a question, you answer, and done.
You're on the stand for 320 questions.
And out of the 320, I think it's 240 are failing, which means if you fail one of the 220, you just fail.
Welcome to Trust Issue by BEMO, the podcast where we go beyond checkbox compliance and get real about security. In every episode, we will break down what's happening in the world of CMMC, cybersecurity, and GRC, straight from the people building, auditing, and living it. Real conversation about real security.
All right. Well, as of this morning, BEMO is officially CMMC Level 2 certified ourselves as an MSSP. Finally, it's been months in the making. But what we'd like to do today is kind of talk about what was that experience like. We're finally over the threshold. We completed our mock audit as well as our final certification with Insight Assurance, our C3PAO. Bruno, maybe let's just start off with, how are you feeling?
It feels very good. It's just like Brian said, has been, many long nights of prepping and all of that. And again, from our perspective on BEMO, what's interesting, everything the prep we do is to be certified for us, but how do we scale it with our customers? So it's always, everything we do is done. If it was just certification on itself, just for us, done. But it's not just for us. It's from the learning, how do we scale, so this is
right. What happens when you have 10, 20, 50 customers and I have to repeat
exactly. How do you run the automation and all of that? So again, it was, so what I would say to all our customers, you have to do the mock. So what was interesting from a BEMO perspective is we did the mock. So again, it was 1 week, starting at 7 a.m. Pacific. And it was until 3 p.m. So it's every day for 5 days. So very intense. You go through with the assessor, they go through all your controls. And so from a BEMO perspective, on an IT, we had 100%. No problem, no control. We end up with 5 documentation issues. Right? And again, it's just, for example, I give an example. One that we had was, at BEMO, we are passwordless. Okay? But we still have to have a policy because in case you need to go to password, you need to have it. So by default, from a BEMO perspective, within the Intune, we have minimum 14 characters. Okay. You go to your procedure, it said, how do we verify we have 14 characters? But our policy was saying 12. All right. Boom. Ding, up, you got no. And if we would have not done the mock, we would have failed because of the document not being synced.
You wouldn't have had a second chance.
We don't have had a second chance. And again, from my perspective, I was like, even the auditor, we laugh, but let's say again, if I pay by the rule, it's just you. So we had 5 documentation errors. Well, without the mock, we would have failed, and I would have to retake again. So the advantage here is, again, we fixed it, and then
except that you would have then had to tell everybody else that you failed or uploaded your SPRS score, right?
Exactly.
And now it doesn't look good, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, for something that was, in this case, very kind of dumb, right? Like,
kind of dumb,
but
to get people in perspective, we have 36 policies, 46 procedures, more than 700 pieces of evidence. And your SSP or SSP 300 pages. So think all the cross checks that you have to go across, all of that. You make a change somewhere, do you have it? It's just like you go verify, you validate.
They're interdependent on each other.
Yes.
And you're talking about hundreds and hundreds of pages.
Yes.
And you're like, do you really know this book? I mean, that's a book, right? Do you know these books by heart?
It's a huge, I think if I had the SSP and all the procedure, and I will go run the math, but at the end, you have something more than 1,000 pages. Plus the policies, yes, you have more than, so just imagine the old days, which page, I need to go back, so it's.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of details, and one or two people, like you need a lot of people involved to be able to cross-check everything, right?
Cross-check. So again, I feel like it's, I also feel like the way it is, it's like any exam, you take a certification and at least you get a test run. And, and
Practice
going,
SAT.
and going through it now, it was very good. You can see how the assessor looked at it, it's just, again, so
Yeah.
no.
So tell me, let's talk about just like what is the mock audit? Like, why do you recommend a mock audit? Like, what is the experience of like going through a mock audit?
So it's the same. So again, from our perspective, so we're live. So you are live with, so in our case, 3 assessors. So with Insight, they have 3 assessors on their side. And on our side, we were 6 people. So, again, for people, we had our HR person, because HR, but again, it's not only IT. You have the HR person, we have a compliance again. So everyone, the 2 IT person, me as the CISO. So it's kind of a group. And you go through all the controls. So even from the...
So what does it mean to like go through the controls? Like you're on a Teams call and you're sharing screen?
So you're on team calls, you share your screen.
Okay.
So you are live. You're on live, everyone.
From 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. for 5 days.
Yes, for 5 days. But you have a break between, but it's intense. Again, I think, of course, after the second day, you start to understand, you understand how it works. And again, you're on the mock, so you're like, okay, when you set up like, okay, so we screwed up on the password, it kind of give you a bad test, but I would have headed to fail because of that. Because, at the end, our system was correct, it's just, how we report it. So you go through you have the 14 controls, you have the 14 controls, you have 14 family, 110 controls, 320 AO. So you go AO one by one. So the assessor, you always start from a policy. Okay, for this control, how do you make sure this is happening? Okay, this is our policy. You can check the policies. Let's check. Okay.
So you go down one by one for all 300.
One by one, the 320 one by one. So it's why it takes five days.
Let's say, show me the policy of what it means to do password.
Show me the policy. Oh, you want to? Okay, yeah, I can show you the policy, what it means. Okay, how do you make sure it happens? This is our procedure. Let me show you the procedure that is linked to the policy.
What's the difference between a policy and a procedure?
A policy is, for example, just to give an idea, our password need to be 14 characters. The procedure is, how do you check? How do you make sure this happened, that you always have 14? We'll go check here. What is the process of checking? Okay. And so this is the procedure. And then now show me the proof. So the proof is you have screenshot. Or in our case, we go live, depending, sometimes the screenshot was good, sometimes go live, and you go live, you go to Intune or, Collegial Access, and you show the screenshot. Okay. And they take the screenshot. Okay. Let's go now to 3.1.1B, 3.1.1C, and you go through this exercise.
Wow. And so what happens if like you take too long? Because like I could easily imagine that you could go over 5 days if you're that.
No. I think, no, I don't think at the end. No, I don't think you need, maybe because we're very ready and they're part, and we divide something in a team of who does what.
Right. There's 6 people on our side who are doing this, right?
Yeah, exactly. 6 people on our side, and and also to divide for, if you don't want the person to be on the spot for 30 hours, it's just like, okay, how do we, So we divided the role, who did what, and also think of always be careful of, as a team. Don't talk too much. Again, it's an assessor. It's just anything. When you share your screen, you show what you do, and you cut the screen sharing. You don't want to show more because it's evidence for them.
Right.
Okay. So it's like, I
always say more questions.
It's like going to a trial. I guess I've never been, but my expectation is a lawyer asks you a question, you answer, and done.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you don't. So it's
right. You're on the stand for 320 questions.
Exactly. You're on the stand for 300. And again, out of the 320, I think it's 240 are failing. So, which means if you fail one of the 220, they are not what's called poemable, which means you cannot. So,
you just fail. It's an automatic fail.
So you have 240. You need to make sure. The other one, if you fail them, you may have up to 6 months to fix it, and you have to re-audit. So it's kind of So it's
right. So there's some that are non-negotiable,
and some 240 that are non-negotiable.
fail the entire mock audit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you will the mock audit you will not fail. You will lose your 5 points or your 10 points or whatever. But if it was the official assessment, boom, done. There is no. That's it. You know,
Right.
this-
Stop here. See you in 6 months.
See, exactly.
And I'll collect another 55,000 from you.
Yes, I will come back and so yes.
Yeah.
So it's exactly.
Okay. And you said on their side for these 5 days, they have two assessors.
3. They need to have minimum 3. So
Okay.
what was interesting for us when we work with Insight, the first call, there were 11 of them. Yeah, wow. So this is impressive because now you see your team. Yeah, whoa. you know. And I don't know again. Maybe some are in training. I don't know why they're living. And you don't ask the question. It's just like, And then after, it was only 3 during the mock all the time. The 3 people. So they divide. One person will do a control, another one will do another control. They all have which control. It's not the same person, same thing for them.
They probably have decided. They probably have segmented it by families, right?
So what's good for listener again is there is all the one around HR. So again, at the end, is our HR person is the one answering the question, showing her document, showing her procedure, showing her workflow. Showing.
Maybe talk a bit more about who are the 6 people on our side and why is this not just IT, but maybe talk about what are the different organizations represented there by BEMO.
Yeah. So we had we have our two IT admin. So Kata and Chamizo, the 2 IT admin. Then we have Sylvia, who is our HR person. And then we have Ademar. So Ademar manages all our data ticketing. So again, everything you do in a CMMC world start with a ticket. I'll give an example. So for example, iOS, they just did yesterday. So they push an update, which means we go to Intune, we open a ticket on saying we are going to raise the minimum version required, 25 or up. We put a ticket. It's approved. Kata go change it. So you can trace it. So again, the world for many people, but it's how the world works. So everything. So during the audit, you have to show you those tickets. How are you doing it? Show me a ticket. Show me, So it's kind of, So, and then we have, we have Cindy, who is in charge of our compliance team. Again, same thing from the poem, the risk assessment, how the whole thing, works.
Yeah, so that's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people. It's against all automation again. So, and what I will tell to our listener again, is we just got married here. We got a certification, but you have to keep it. And this month of, we have our monthly security team with stuff we have to do, and there is a monthly compliance team that does, and both have to, and so.
What's the monthly work involved? Now that it's over. Do you get surprised?
Well, I think it's the same as before. I mean, the work is, the extra work we had to do here was to make sure all the documents were right. But nothing changed with last month. The ticketing is the same, the monthly recurring. So again, so the advantage of BEMO, because we are pretty advanced on AI, there's a lot of things that we are automating, collection evidence, and, so again, it's just how much you can automate. So on our case, for example, the first day of the month, we automatically get the last month log of Intune, of Purview. So it's all common. We have 60 logs. They all come automatically. And then our agent runs and automatically create reports, open tickets. So again, it's all automation. So of course, now past the audit, I can see tricks I want to do. And again, for us is we do that and make sure, how we'll use the same automation that we will give to our customers to do their automation.
Right. Because the idea is not only do we have to support this for our customers, but if you are the ESP for a defense contractor, you as the MSSP also has to be CMMC Level 2 compliant, right?
And as the MSSP, we have to provide, so again, we have customers that will use BEMO to do everything. Some customers, they will just us for IT and they have their own RPO. but we have to provide, from an IT perspective, we have to provide data monthly to the RPO. So if we don't give it, if we are the RPO, we give it to ourselves, but the work is the same.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
So you give you give the evidence every month.
So at the end of this mock audit, right? Like it's Friday. What happened at the end? Like you just have like
so after that we had 10 days.
What?
So so we finished was May 1st. Okay. And we had 10 days to fix our 5 issues that were found. And then we restarted the audit. So now it goes back outside of mock. Let's re-audit you. And now that's it. So you did your trial run, great. Do it again.
Right.
And the auditor.
Right. So it's now May 12th. We restarted on May 11th.
Yep.
Right.
So the process went a lot faster. Again, they had to see, but yesterday was tense. It was interesting because now, you have the mod before, even if you don't want to fail, you're like, okay, if I fail, it's okay, I have a net. You're like, hey, what if they don't like how we fix the 5 issue? Or what if they find one? You don't know. It's just like, now, yesterday you could feel the team tension of like, okay, now the net
did
is
I
off.
did I actually go fix those things correctly? Right.
Yeah.
Because it's not like they're, from my understanding, the auditor.
They cannot tell you how. They
not
don't.
telling
Again,
you how to fix
they cannot. They just, you fail. We needed to see that. We didn't see it. Or this, this was wrong. But now you go fix it. Don't tell you how. So it's not like you come back and like, I hope this time they will like how we fix or what we change. So
Right. You don't get to ask them, does this work for you? Yeah.
Exactly. Doesn't work this way. So
Okay. And so
again, I will recommend. I love working with Insight. They were very professional, but they knew where not to cross the line. We knew it was clear. Okay.
So when so my guess is they gave you 10 days to fix it. Seems like it's up to the auditor to determine how much time. So 10 days isn't necessarily like the norm.
No,
right?
no. For what we go after the mock, you have 10 days. If it's more than 10 days, it's kind of you restart from zero. So you only have 10 days. So because again, even for them, it's fresh. It's also if we do it within the 10 days, then they go through the process a lot faster.
And if they find too many problems during the mock, then what happens? They just say like, see you in 6 months.
No, the mock is your test run. So at the end you're like, I'm sure it's like, I'm sure for them would be like, those guys would have a problem to pass. I'm sure. I don't know what they think and what they do, but on our side, for sure, we would have had, for me, I was very proud to have no IT issue, like for my 100% on IT. So at least I knew
we only had documentation issues.
So from my perspective is okay. I know our IT system is solid. What we do on our customer, because we do the same, is solid. So it was a good, cool. It was cool to see. I would have felt bad to say, whoa, your IT is failing here and here. No, we had not. So
it's honestly good because a documentation issue is a lot easier to resolve within 10 days versus you have an actual IT issue where you need to figure out how to find an implementation solution. Could potentially take you a lot longer, right?
Exactly. No, so it's just, and all of them were all those cross issue of the detail between a procedure and a policy that was not. So again, you saw it. I can fix it even. So I think even from them, they told us they were impressed by our IT, how solid our IT was. The knowledge. So I think also it's just like, hey, I would expect from them their goal is, make sure the IT works.
So if you're in, let's call it the mock audit plus the audit, and hypothetically could go over for, let's say, 2 weeks, right? 5 days and 5 days. Maybe it doesn't go quite that far. Maybe it's only 8 business days, right? Instead of 5. But during that time, like, you basically, all the people involved just have to stop their jobs because you can't do anything. You can't. Yeah.
No, from perspective is we had a schedule, so we knew when we need our HR person. Okay, when she will come, her control will be on that day. She came on that day. and went out. So you don't have to stay all the time.
Right. So the
know?
secret PAO gives you a schedule, a day-by-day schedule of like blocks.
Yes.
A block. Okay, so it's very all right. It's very organized.
It's very organized. I will do those control from 8 to 10. This one from 10 to 12. I will do this other control. So, which also, even for us the night before, you prep, making sure, okay, because now you are live and it's for everyone. It's like you have your screen with your policy and your procedure and your evidence and you have your SSP.
Yeah, so tell me what it's like, maybe even on your side as the organization seeking compliance. If you, let's say, during your block of time, we're gonna go through this family of controls. You just have like hundreds of tabs open already, just ready to go?
Yes. No. So again, I will have I have my policy folder, so at least I know they are there. I have my procedure folders. I had the screen with Intune, so Intune ready, Entra, kind of already, and at BEMO we have a PIM of 2 hours. So every 2 hours, you were always worried that
you have to
demonstrate,
you have to re-elevate your privileges.
Yeah. So that you have your evidence, you have your SSP, you go you go. So and at least it was good from again. It's why you do it from an IT perspective with it was Kata and Chamizo and then me sometimes. So again, between the three of us, sometimes, hey, Kata say, I have it on my screen. Very good. He has it. He will share. Because we know already which control. So sometimes was try to be too controlling ahead. So, to try to make it, we from a BEMO perspective, didn't want, the assessor to be waiting 5 minutes for each time to, just
for a window to load.
You want to roll, just press. They are, even more for us. You're happy. One family done. Check. Met. Or, because as they go, met. You're like, okay. So even in your head, you're like, sure. So, and I think for us, what was interesting is on day one, we had a perfect one, perfect day. So at least I think it set the mood of like, okay, good, because you don't know what to expect. We had and I think when we lost some point was on the second day, of our documentation. So what was good is I think, maybe also after day one, we are very confident. Good, easy. Plus, we started with not the easy control. Then as day two, boom, you kind of like, boom, get slapped, like, boom, one, two documentation error, and you're like, so now we are, let's make sure we don't take it too comfortable. There's a bit too comfortable here, because, again, it's their job. For me, they were very professional. They did their job, but it's just,
So are you making changes from like day to day at night? No, you're not making any changes.
No. Yeah. For me, it's just, at least I will talk for me and I know from the team, the night, it's in the afternoon. So we finish. So for me, 2 p.m. Pacific, because they were Eastern. We were starting early in the morning, 6 or 7 a.m. And then after that, you will prep, the next day. Okay, I will talk about those controls. So again, you do on our side, we do a dry run with IT, just...
You did a dry run internally before
internally, because you have to think at one point, again, what do we think the assessor will ask for evidence? For this one, it's a log. For this one, is this and this. For this one, so, and it's always, for example, where do you show that you have, for example, TLS 1.2? Okay, where do I show that? Yes, this is inside this one, So from an IT, we're because it's not like it's from ourselves and we can go find it and it takes 10 minutes, no problem. No, here is, so for every evidence, we have a path, check every single path. So when we are arriving at that, check, I can live. And
right. You have to make sure that it's easy enough to go find all the information.
To go find this. Yeah, exactly. So it's, everyone could find it, but just when you're under pressure, you have those 3 people looking at your screen.
Yeah, you know that you have maybe 90 seconds
exactly.
to find everything, and you're like, okay, where do I click? Yeah.
Exactly. Where do I click? And okay, great. This is what I was looking for. Great. Okay, let me take a screenshot of that. Good job.
When you think of 700 pieces of evidence, you got to think that if you have to go log into portals and go click around to go find 700 pieces of evidence, there's a lot of clicking around.
And then think, and stuff are, again, very detailed. Show me where you show your 15 minutes. show
Only
me
15 minutes?
15 minutes, that when your screen, for example, one of the rules is your screen will automatically lock if you don't use your computer for 15 minutes.
Yeah, go back, go to the screensaver or whatever.
So, okay, well, wow, you said, and we said this at like, forever. So, okay, when you go, okay, you go
we
here.
set this up years ago. That's the man one day. Yeah.
Yeah. So, again, we have baseline policy that we have set that we deploy on our customers. So, again, it's just, stuff. So, we open every single baseline one, so it's just, where do you show that? Where do you show, so it's, no. So, again, if I go back again, it's, people for sure underestimate the prep. Again, it's
Not the IT prep, but the IT work is a lot, but what you're saying is...
But from an IT perspective, for example, if people work with us, we do the IT. But what people don't realize from their side is, at the end, we go with them to their audit. No problem. But at the end, we are only IT. We are not the HR. We are not the one who represent their company. Again, we will answer many of the questions on the IT, but all on IT, their procedure is their procedure. Again, we give you a template, you update, but at the end, you have to know your procedure. You have to know the policy because it's your policy. So the questions are answered by you, not BEMO.
So even though I'm doing the work, you have to be able to represent
exactly.
Yeah.
The work I do, you have to understand the work I do because at the end, you're the one talking. It's like, someone, you're the legal assistant that prep your lawyer. But at the end, the lawyer needs to know what's inside. So.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe talk about
like you said, if you do a mock, it's a 40 hours, 1 week, and then after that, 1 week to update, and a week after you are back again for the 40 hours. So again, if I look at from your perspective, you have blocked 3 weeks. This is before. This is from the mock but not even all the work before. So again, it's just.
Maybe talk about the 10 days that you had, but in between, or even kind of the last minute prep. Do you feel like this was something that you and the other team members were working like a normal 9 to 5 to complete, or were you working on weekend? Were you working late at nights?
The after, so the between, no, it became more normal. It was more. It was crazy before, but but after again, because again we didn't have much update to do, so it's more. I think it's more.
What about the before? What do you mean by before? What I mean, it was crazy right before.
You have to create your SSP. So you create your SSP, you create your evidence, you create and the work of like I mentioned to make sure that everything crossed correctly. Because before when we do it for ourselves. Yeah, if there's it's not like, it's now someone is going to look at your work and in our case, a mistake on the password number on one of the documents. Well, if it's a document they happen to read, done. So again, so it's all this, you want to polish as much.
How long do you feel like that took the 6 of you guys to prep? Are we talking months? Are we talking days? What's the...
So we really started, we did our first SSP in December.
Okay, December 2025. It is now May 12th.
May. Okay.
Yeah.
And we actually, so
and
again,
what you just added pages? I started off being 100 pages.
Yeah, you had pages. You had pages, and then you realize as you go. Well, I forgot to talk about those procedures, and I forgot all these policies. And again in our case, which was interesting from a BEMO, if it was just BEMO, because we don't deal with CUI.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're just MSSP. We're never going to deal with CUI.
Yeah. So from our perspective, it would have been very simple how to put our boundaries, But because the way we had to do it is, we have to assume, so we work with the customers with CUI. And if by mistake,
the
customer give us a CUI, how do we handle it?
Yeah.
So again, in that case, it changed the entire scope. So now it was not the scope for BEMO as a company. It was the scope as BEMO. How do we handle our customers? And how do we make sure that when we will go when our customer will go to an audit of CMMC, that again, because of that, BEMO is part of the scope, that we make it as easy as possible to prove that BEMO was ready and make it easier. So we make the scope a lot bigger, which took, so it was very, again, an interesting, back and forth about, at the end, it was not for BEMO, it was what's best for our customer, which
When a defense contractor gets audited, right, they go through their own certification. And let's say they use an MSP, right? Does the MSP just show them their CMMC certification?
So for us, we will give our CMC certification because again, we have the shares responsibility. Again, what do we do? What do we do for the
right? You have a RACI.
We have a RACI. This is what we do for you, to prove to you how do we manage those control, and we can show it. So as part of the assessment, we'll come back with this is our BEMO proof. We do all of that. Okay. And by the way, we are CMMC as well. So we already were audited how we do this. And,
Right. And so if the defense contractor happens to be using an MSSP, but that MSSP is not CMMC Level 2 certified, is it just like a no, that's not allowed? Or is it just
now the MSP, the MSP is part of the full audit with the customer.
Sure.
So now again, it's you have an MSP and for whatever reason they are not able to prove correctly, then you will fail.
Then you will fail.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
wow. Okay. Yeah, that's a lot of complexity, right?
It's a lot of complex and it's a big risk. I think I can imagine a company that is not is not used to running. And if I think of BEMO, where we were 8 years ago and where we are now we are compliance company first, security second. So again, we run like I mentioned, how I know our IT department hates it. I think it's really how it's turning. I always said, 8 years ago, BEMO admin was a global admin by default.
Yeah, okay. We do whatever
then came PIM. Everyone had it. Now I have to go request, and every 2 hours I have to redo it. Now people don't even think. Now people feel like, of course we have that. It's good we do that. Now I can tell you for the last few months, that we open tickets. You start with a ticket. I'm an IT guy. Before I could just do my PIM and go do my work, do whatever. Not anymore.
Everything has to be logged, right?
Everything has to be logged. I have no doubt. For me, going through that, CMMC is the best practice, and I will never run a business without running it the way CMMC does it. Yes, it's more work, but it makes a lot of sense. I have a different perspective of I have learned a best practice, and now BEMO is following that best practice. And yes, it's more work, but at the end, I know I make my customers and BEMO a lot more secure.
Right. Like in the end, it doesn't really have anything to do with government per se. It is right. The NIST framework, right? The NIST framework is just a great framework to run a technology organization or any organization, right, for best practices.
But for me, what is interesting, I see it with our customers that we are working on today that come to us and say, "Hey, I was already
self-assessed,
and I'm good." And now you open the hood, you're like, there is no way you could have passed that. No way. Hey, and you can see they are not running their poem the way they should. They don't have the ticketing. They don't. So,
yeah, it's really interesting. I feel like the new thing that has been kind of happening now is people kind of say, "Hey, Brandon, I have an SSP. Check, done. I have my poem. Check, done." And what I'm doing now is saying, okay, well, just because you have it doesn't necessarily, like someone could say they have an SSP and it's 5 pages, right? Like that's not a checkbox, right? And so now what we're seeing is we're taking that and we're comparing it to BEMOs. We're comparing it to just all the assessment objectives and running it through, Copilot and determining like how far off base are you? And nobody is even close, right? Everybody's at 20, 30%. And they say, "Oh, I have an SSP. Yeah, I'm done. Yeah, I haven't updated." And they find stuff, when you upload things via Copilot, right? They'll say, yeah, there's a piece in here that hasn't been updated since like December 2022. And you're like, whoa, like there's so much cross-checking that you really have to go do.
And so for me, too, yeah, it was good. At least, again, we learn, and again, we had our own consultant that helped us to draft a very good SSP, because again, it's very interesting from, what's the good SSP, what look like, what doesn't, and everyone has an opinion. So again, we got one help us, and I can see our SSP, I can see how the assessor use the SSP, and I can see our SSP was well done. This was well done, was clear, every appendix work you could relate, just there's nothing that the assessor said, I don't find it in your SSP. They told us your SSP is very good.
Right. So it's kind of crazy how there's actually a lot of like steps to this, right? So like the final step is like the audit, but then what you really should be doing before that is the mock audit, right? Which is, an official thing.
But you have to think, but you only do the mock audit when you think
you are ready to.
You are ready, because
Yes.
don't waste. It's like you have one shot as a free test. Do it and make sure that they are going to go through everything, and they will only find, hopefully not too many. So at least you are prepped to go take the test.
But it seems like what you're saying is there's a step even before the mock audit, which is, hey, you hired a lead CCA who is this like independent consultant to do the mock of the mock, right? Basically do the mock of the mock. So it's like all these like prep steps.
Yeah. So it's why from all our customers, so the lead assessor that we use, we are putting the same lead assessor as part of our fee within the offering. So again, it's going to be BEMO from an IT, and this third-party lead assessor that again we like very much, did a good job, that will make sure that again prep you into setting the boundaries. Again, making sure that how are you thinking of your CUI? Are they set? Is your boundary set correctly? Because this is the key of the whole thing. If you set your boundary correctly to start with, then your documentation and everything will connect to it. What took us a long time from a BEMO, again, as I mentioned, is because first we went off, what is good for BEMO? Oh, let's go. We are planning to use Prevail. Okay, we draft everything. Boom. And then we changed our mind. We went with a different. We rewrote everything. And then, so we changed 3 times. So we redid all our documentation and SSP 3 times.
Wow.
Because what
we did the boundary.
We redid the boundary 3 times, and it changed the whole thing. So this is, so again, we are in a special case because none of our customers will be an MSSP. So yeah, this is unique to us because of it.
But I do hear, like on calls, I think the thing that I hear the most frequently is people trying to game the system. Or I should say, this doesn't come up with the people who are all governments, in which case they just migrate to like a GCC moderate or a GCC high, and it's just like done story, completely fine. Where I find the people really trying to maybe game the system and think that the system can be gamed is the people who have a mix of commercial business and government business. And what they do is they say, well, what if I make my boundary the single laptop, right? I'm just going to set up a new GCC moderate tenant, and I'm going to set it on one laptop, and it's going to be very simple, right? And I say, but that's just like not realistic. Like, the auditor's just going to see through that and be like, what do you mean? Like, you don't just work from one laptop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So again, they will be surprised that again, their boundary is not good. You will go to your first, this is phase 1 when you start with your auditor.
Yeah, the scope assessment, right?
Yeah, the scope. So again, when the first meeting that you had was, we review the boundary and they will question a lot, you discuss, but they will tell you, I don't think it works, or I think it works, or you don't get So
yeah, and I think people aren't really prepped for that part. I sense that the scoping session, I think, tends to be the most crucial piece on the C3PO side, where they want to make sure that it's scoped correctly. Otherwise, they don't want to take the business and then waste their time down the road.
Yes, and my thing is, and I think it goes back to the same thing we had with all other certification we manage with customers, whatever is SOC, ISO. There's a difference between the one that just want the certificate. So here is, I want to spend
Right.
So I'm going
Make compliant on paper, do the bare minimum to get me through.
exactly.
Yeah.
Versus the one that no, I have CUI, I want to manage it correctly. Let's scope it correctly. And best, there for my business is what makes sense and is what the scope. And yes, and the assessor, yes, we agree. This is what,
Yeah. The other piece where I see like the second piece is like, I think where people are going to be surprised as they get to the scoping session thinking like, oh, I got my little boundary and they're not going to question it too much. And we're just going to go through the audit with this tiny little scope. And instead, what's actually going to happen is if the C3PO that says this is not real, this is not going to be realistic, come back to me in 3 months. When you
it will say no pass. So again, no pass, and then it will say you can come back once. And so it's how it works. You if you don't pass, you can come back once. Otherwise, they charge you each time.
Yeah.
So
Which
is fair because at the end it's like, hey, plus the part is they cannot tell you how to do it. They will just tell you the scope is not correct.
Yeah,
Okay?
exactly.
It's not. They don't tell you how to do it. They will tell you no, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. But
yeah. So you could easily find yourself in a situation where you thought you're saying, oh, I'm going through the audit, and it's like phase 1, and it's just like, nope, you don't pass.
Nope.
And like, what do I have to do? And they're saying, that's up for you to figure out, right?
yeah, exactly.
And suddenly you've delayed potentially something by 6 months or more, right? It's very scary. Okay. Cool.
Again.
That is another episode of Trust Issue. In this conversation, help you think differently about compliance, security, or trust. Share it to help someone who is still stuck in a checkbox mode. Each week, we will keep bringing you more episodes, resources, and real-world insight from the BEMO team. Wherever you are listening from, don't forget to rate the podcast and follow us to stay up to date on the latest development in the GRC space. Remember, compliance gets you certified, but real security, that earns trust. Thank you for listening.